Mr. Xenos leads Juniper's Academic Alliance program and is responsible for global strategy to establish academic relationships with the selected leading universities, colleges, and other academic institutions that are known to specialize in studies of engineering, mathematics, algorithm research, software development, microelectronics, and telecommunication. Mr. Xenos has been building Juniper's Academic Alliance program since 2010 and has over 25 years of experience leading and implementing worldwide training programs both in industry and academia. Mr. Xenos is a U.S. Navy veteran at the rank of captain with 27 years experience in various capacities, leading and guiding the world's largest training organization. Married with 3 children, he is also a passionate offshore sailor, published cartoonist, and enjoys practicing the 4 languages he speaks to build friendships around the globe. Let's welcome Mr. Xenos to the podium.
Oops. Thank you. I might just hold this, actually, might be easier. It's actually the first time I've been introduced 3 times in a row in the same meeting, so this is really a great pleasure 3 times. It's a great pleasure and an honor to be here, and I thank you for inviting me to do this, Dr. Chuika and the faculty, and other honored guests. You're all honored guests here as you have arrived at this point in your fledgling career and taking it to the next step. I am from Juniper Networks. I have was brought on board to build the academic relationships with special universities that we would like to participate with in depth, and it's been a great pleasure to be able to do this here at Howard. We were a company that some people have not heard of, but I just will put that out there in a very, very small infomercial just because I think it's important to understand what these companies are doing to you, actually. Juniper is along with Cisco, one of the largest networking companies in the world. 60% of the internet runs on Juniper. 80% of the smartphone traffic runs on Juniper. 6 of the 7 world stock exchanges, including the New York Stock Exchange, run on Juniper. 100 of the Fortune 100 companies run on Juniper. Every time you pick up your cell phone to do some heavy lifting in some kind of an online data application, the chances are very, very good that you're running on Juniper. So we're known for high bandwidth capabilities in networks, big pipes, the security, and high availability, high reliability. And so these are things that affect your life every day. 130 of the service providers in the world run Juniper as well. So be aware that this changing environment changes the way that, of course, you all grew up, but for us, it's in the slightly older generation is a transitional period. I'm going to start with just a small story that occurred to me just the other day. But I am Greek and Greek American, and so I grew up in Greece. My father was Greek, and in 1967. April 21st in 1967, the monarchy was overthrown in Greece. There were the 7 colonels that came in, and they overthrew the then very, very weak government, which was fighting against communism, and it basically turned into a fascist country for a while. It was a military dictatorship, and I remember that day because all communications were completely under control of the government. We could not hear anything but martial music playing on the radio. There was a 24-hour curfew on the streets. Nobody could come and go, and this lasted for days. I didn't see my father for 5 days because he was stuck at the office when this whole thing went down. They started showing on the television endless, and television, of course, was quite fledgling back in those days as well, particularly in Greece. But it was endless rows of tanks coming through Constitution Square, soldiers marching through Constitution Square, weapons and all these huge support things that they were doing. And that was the information we had back then. Everybody was very, very impressed. I was about this big at the time. I remember vividly those pictures of rows and hours, 5 hours of tanks going through Constitution Square. So let's flash forward to the selfie moment. How many of you all selfied today? You can raise your hand. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's really not even. I mean, you know, there's even a song about it now, right? So it's okay to selfie. But what does that do to things like control of communications, control of information that people have, right? I'll tell you now why this is applicable. In fact, the 5 hours of tanks, the 5 hours of soldiers marching through Constitution Square, 5 hours of all those weapons trailing through down the road, 5 lanes of road in splendor and great force, were in fact a much smaller set of weapons and tanks and people. They were going around the block and coming back again. Do you think that would be done today? Do you think that would be possible today? Certainly not, because one of you with your phone out there would have taken a picture of it. It would have hit the internet before anybody could do anything about it. And then we would all be smarter and wiser. So we live in the digital decade. We live in a time when we can just assume that that the connections are there, and that just continues to grow. You all have digital phones. You upload things into the network, into the cloud. The cloud is turning into a big deal right now, and continues to grow. We've gone from meeting rooms, coming into conferences, to doing them virtually. I do a lot of business on video conferencing right now, and I'm sure you've had an opportunity to do some learning online. My son, who came to me the other day, he's 11, and he said, Dad, I have a problem with Minecraft. Minecraft is a big game that he plays right now, and it's online. And he said, I'd like you to help me a minute, and I have found 4 videos that I want you to watch on YouTube. And one was from Latin America, and one was from Europe, and one was from the Middle East somewhere, and then one was some 6-year-old kid in Australia who was a whiz on Minecraft. So I got a global education over the course of about 15 minutes, and then went to mentor my son on how to solve that particular problem. So the way we learn, the way we interact, the things that we do, the things that you will be dealing with in your extended studies or in the workforce that you go into, are all predicated on you understanding the technology, embracing the technology, or designing the technology in a way that makes perfect sense. So we go from the very small internet to what we have today, and that growth will continue to work. I mean, the average enterprise, the layout of routers and switches and peripherals and so on and so forth in an average enterprise is bigger than the original internet. And that's over the course of the last 35 years. So it just continues to grow. Now, I come from the IT side, and I've been in the networking industry for a number of years. But a lot of what we deal with in our company is something that you should be aware of and you should be preparing for as you go into whatever part of engineering you may be interested in. Those things are the types of things that companies are expecting. But I'll use the networking industry as an example, because that's obviously the experience that I've had and the expertise that I can bring you today. So let's take an average employer there, and this can be paralleled in a number of different industries. You have those that provide the infrastructure and provide the actual physical devices and the software devices that you would be using. So in our cases, it would be networking, right? So this would be the internet service providers. Those are the Sprints, the Verizons, the AT&Ts, the Comcasts, the Time Warners. Those that have the net, that is their business. Networking is their business. Then you have the enterprise, as we call it. Networking is not their business. So that would be, in general terms, financial, healthcare, government, energy, retail, manufacturing, transportation, anything that requires the network to work, but it's not their primary line of business, right? And then we have others that support the infrastructure. Those would be the channel partners, the support partners, people that are involved in making sure that all of that stuff is implemented in a way that when you pick up your phone and you make a call, you have the 4 bars, right? You have the data that you're looking for. So within that infrastructure, there are a number of things that you would be participating in, and those things, those jobs, those positions, those opportunities as you move forward are from entry level to a career move, if you will. Things like support and maintenance, configuration, implementation, design, project management, networking engineer lead, architectural design within the network itself. On the other side, you have the sales and the business consultants. You've got education. You can direct an environment, so you're on the business side of things, or eventually chief information officer, chief technology officer. This is an entire career within an industry. Right? So as engineers, as you're going in, you should look at those progressions for yourself within the industry that you're interested in. You all presented some amazing projects today, and they're all a little bit different. So as you look forward and you look to see where you will fit into the career path that you are looking for, you should be looking at every step of the way. How do you start? What do you learn? How do you move forward? What are the things that are going to make you successful? I'm going to just, I actually do have a slide on this. I'd be happy to share this with you later so you can pass it out. It's a really interesting study that happened in California recently where they polled 600 companies about the sorts of things that they want in their employees, the sorts of things that they want for people coming into the team that is the company. Companies run lean and mean these days. They don't have, it's not the old model where you have thousands and thousands of people doing sort of similar things. It's very, very closely related to specific problems that companies are trying to solve in each business area. But there's some common threads that go along to what makes you successful in that environment. And some of these things you may think, as I read through this list, you may think, wow, that's pretty fundamental stuff. But amazingly enough, it's the thing that makes the difference as to whether or not you get into this team. So these are some of the foundations: communication skills, real-world experience, social skills, professional skills, problem-solving skills, work ethic, interrelational skills, motivation, grit, in quotations. Can you stand the test of time? Independence and being able to self-project yourself. Understanding the relevance of what you're doing as it relates to that specific industry and the bigger picture. And understanding the big picture of what the company is trying to achieve within its own sector. So as you start to look at perhaps interviewing or looking for internships as you move forward, take some of these things and build on them inside. So when you have that discussion, you have that conversation with somebody who's going to take you on as an intern, is going to consider you as a new college grad in the full-time employment sector. Make sure that you know what it is you're trying to achieve. There have been some amazing stories that have come out of come out of that side, where somebody in an interview will say, we were just talking about it at the table here, where somebody in an interview will say, oh yeah, you know, I've been on the job 3 months, when am I getting my promotion? Well, in a company environment, you know, 3 months is your probation period. They just decide whether they want to keep you. So you need to be prepared to pay your dues. You need to be prepared to know where you want to go and have some concrete steps on how to get there. A conversation that I have, and we do this across the company from the top down, is where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 3 years? Where do you want to be in 18 months? What are you doing today that makes it interesting? How do you differentiate yourself in this core company? Because the core company is what all companies are these days. You have to be part of that company. So differentiate yourself. So how can you do that? You can understand the industry better, right? You can understand the different professional organizations that would be useful for you. Read, understand the technology that you are planning to use right now, and things that are going to get you to the next step. Be proactive in doing those things. And then stay current. If you're not listening to 1 or 2 blogs or reading something every day about the area that you're interested in, you're behind. Because tomorrow there's something else that's come on top of that. And it really is that fast today. So take the time to stay current with things and stay on top of your game, because somebody else out there is doing that right now. I listen to at least 5 blogs a day. When I'm on the car, I download them when I'm in an airplane, or in the evenings when I have nothing else to do and my kids are asleep. Okay, so stay on top of the things that you need to know to make you successful in your arena. So what do you want to do, right? I mean, this is the beginning of the great road. So what do you want to do? There's an open field out there, and unlike some of the other parts of the world where you don't have these opportunities, here you do. You really could decide what it is you want to do. And then you relate it to, what are you good at? I mean, it would be great for me to think I'm going to be a ballerina, for example, but it probably is not going to be a reality unless it's on one of those comedy shows. And people make a lot of money doing that too, but that's a conscious decision, right? So know where you want to go. Always have an objective. You don't necessarily have to have that objective forever in your life, but have an objective and be learning and understanding what you need to know to get there. Look for additional learning opportunities, graduate programs that may help you out. Internships are huge right now. And companies want young, interesting talent that are going to be in the pipeline to come into either the company itself or into, in our case, for example, we have a large partner infrastructure that does a lot of the support and a lot of the front-end discussions with our customers. That is a huge field out there, but it's very competitive. So what do you need to know to be competitive in that particular arena? Go for your industry certifications, right? The training, the opportunities are there, and the certifications are available to you. And here through Howard, we have a program where you could get Juniper certified. And I will fully support Dr. Jujubi and Dr. Chawika in making those things happen for you and for your student colleagues, right? A little bit about a resume. Resumes, I see a lot of resumes. The day of the static resume is gone. The day of throwing something into an online repository and expecting somebody to fish it out is a pipe dream. Just do not do that. Okay, because it goes in with thousands of others. The static resume is over. Right now, if you're not addressing each career opportunity, each particular job that you want to go for, with specific keywords, with specific taglines on there that address that specific job, you never get past the parsing machine, right? It will not even make it past to the most junior person in HR to review it, and that person doesn't necessarily know what you want to do. They're just doing the HR function. So you have 2 hurdles to get over with this. One is to get past the machine that's going to do the initial sort, And the next is to get past the most junior HR person who is then going to have a look at it. Okay, so but you've got to get past that machine sort. And that's where you have to look at every job you're interested in, take an active interest, and make sure that your resume is applicable to that specific job. And I, in my research, have tested this by throwing in different resumes at specific jobs, and you'd be amazed what happens when you start looking at the specific keywords they're looking for, and you map your own materials to that. It's an interesting moment. It's a transitional period between using technology in this particular side and kind of the maturation of that piece. But it's really important for you because you're now coming into an area where this is going to be important for you, and you have to deal with this. So be smart about that, read about it, and be flexible. Every resume is different. What's going to make you most successful is building your professional network. Your professional network, LinkedIn, other professional organizations. I invite you to join me in LinkedIn. I am an industry resource. I know a lot of people. So Nicholas.Xenos, I'm out of Austin, Texas. So feel free to join me. Actually, this is kind of a company culture thing for us. We all, from the senior executives on down, are very interested in knowing what you're up to, are very interested in helping you be the best you can because we want the best. We're a company specifically that's known as a disruptive technology company. We look at problems, we find a solution, and we implement it. And we want the best people out there to do that. And we'd love to have the challenge, the passion, and the focus that you bring, the special thing that you bring. Okay, so be an engineer. Create. One thing that a captain told me when I first got my commission back in, I'm not going to say when exactly, so many years ago, he actually told me two things. When we were going through Officers Canada School, they said there was a big deal about shining your shoes. You had to have the shoes shined up to a high polish so you could really see your face in it. Took a really long time to do that. And I spent a lot of nights making sure this was done. And as we came to the final inspection before we received our commission and started out in the Navy, a senior captain, Pemberthy, came up to me and he said, "So, beautiful shoes." He said, "So, did you do those?" And I said, "Yes, I did, sir." Very proud and happy about it. He says, "You know what? Buy the core fans. They're pre-shined. You will not have time anymore to be shining shoes." Okay. So that's one. And at that point, I was really disappointed. I thought he was going to tell me how fun how well I did. But be flexible. Change with the way things change in your life. Understand the technology and be aware of the engineering changes that happen. The other, which was more profound, is take notes. Take notes in every position that you are in. As you progress in your specific area, keep a journal of things that you think are important at that level. Because as you go further up, you forget. And you start to see decisions being made at the upper levels that have absolutely no connection with what's really going on with the people that you expect to implement it. So take the time to remember those things that you thought, you know what, this is just not right. If you can't fix it now, make a note of it and be aware of those things that people are doing. Specialize in an area. That's the second thing. So these days, even the most senior executives and well-known technical people in the industry hang a hat on something that they specialize in. It's no longer, you're no longer a generalist. You know a lot about some stuff, but you're specialized in something else. Dare to be off the beaten path. Try something different. Try it. You know, there's no foul for trying something if you have a good justification for it in industry that could potentially work, because people are looking for people that want to just push that envelope and see what's new out there. As engineers, you want to know what's new. You want to know what the next thing is. You want to create that and support it. And then look at solving the problem, not working within the tools you have. And I found that kind of interesting. I'll go back to my son and Minecraft again, but I have 3 kids, and as you heard in the 3 times I was introduced. But in the elementary school projects, they have this little airplane. You probably have all done this, where you have to make this thing fly and you don't break the egg, right? So you build this little airplane, and it's supposed to go that far and land. My 2 daughters built a round airplane because that was the traditional model. My son, when he went through it, because he has designed a number of airplanes on Minecraft, ended up with a square airplane. I thought it was an interesting looking airplane. I didn't even think it was going to fly. Well, it did, but it was a completely different paradigm. He was working within the constraints of the tools that he has a lot of interaction with. And I thought that was an interesting change in the way things are approached. But sometimes we get tied into the tools that we're using as opposed to thinking about how can I create a different tool to actually solve the problem. So focus on the problem and the solution. So in summary, be flexible. Technology changes in every industry that we have. Your engineers, be there to create the tool, to create the solution, or to implement it in the best way. Be ready. Always look at where you're going, because you never get there unless you're ready for that next step. And you never know when that next step is going to come up. So be forward thinking, do your reading, do your studies, look at the industry trades, look at the things that have value to you now and where you think you need to be tomorrow. Dare. Be prepared to dare to try something and potentially fail, because you never learn anything new if you always do what everybody knows. And then be prepared to solve the difficult problems once right. And I threw this one in here because actually it's a mantra that we have in our company. We look to solve the difficult problems once right. So that means it may take a little bit longer to do that, but once it's done, it's very, very rewarding, both professionally, personally, and as you interact in the rest of your career. So I will close just simply with the last part, and I actually invite you to look this up. It's a poem by Robert Frost. It's called "The Road Not Taken," and I'm just going to read the last piece of this. He says, I shall be telling with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And with that, I thank you.